Now, if you like to laugh, and you've just shown that you certainly do, and you like great harmony, we're all in for a special treat. These guys have been so much in demand lately, they're starting to feel as though their day jobs are just to fill in between singing gigs. They're loving every minute of it. Would you please put your hands together and help me welcome, for your listening pleasure, J, Mike, John, and Mike, the Troubadours.
I'm gonna live till I die. I'm gonna laugh instead of cry. I'm gonna fill my cup until my number's up. I'm gonna live until I die. They're gonna say, hey, what a guy. I'm gonna play for the sky. Ain't gonna miss a thing. I'm gonna have my fling. I'm gonna live until I die. The blues will lay low. I'll make them stay low. They'll never trail over my head. I'll be a devil till I'm an angel, but up to then, glory, hallelujah, dance. Gonna fly, I'll take a chance, riding high. I'm gonna take this town and turn it upside down. I'm gonna live until I die.
Thank you. Please sit down. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Troubadours, and I got to tell you, we are absolutely ecstatic to be back in Scranton. Thank you. That should give you some indication as to how empty and unfulfilled our lives have become. Yeah. The feeling of driving into town and seeing our name up in chalk, it was just, it was incredible. Actually, we were just happy to be here, period, tonight. We almost thought we weren't going to be able to go on for you. About 2 hours ago, Jay seriously cut himself shaving in our hotel room, and you think he could get that leg to stop bleeding? No way. It was bad. But we just like to sing 200 or 300 songs for you now, but before we do, we got to get you involved. We need to see a show of hands. How many people in this audience believe that money is the root of all evil? Okay, these are obviously people who have no money there, all right? And how many of you subscribe to the notion that it's a lack of money that's the root of all evil? And how many of you are so deep in debt you're not finding this the least bit funny right now? We'd like to sing a song for you now that was made very popular back in the early 50s by an internationally renowned quartet called the Buffalo Bills, and we believe the essence of this song brings closure to this debate once and for all.
Money, 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 lots of money, 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 lots of money. Ain't it funny how I'm always out of money? Oh, maybe what I could do with plenty of money and you. In spite of the worry that money brings, just a little filthy goodbyes of things. And I could take you to places you'd like to go, but outside of that, I've no use for dough. It's the root of all evil, the strife and upheaval, but I'm certain, honey, that life could be sunny with plenty of money and you, oh, baby, what I couldn't do. Lots of money and you forget the worry that money brings. Just a little filthy lucre, just a little buys a lot of things, and I take you places both high and low. Outside of that, you well know I've no use for dough. The root of all evil, the strife and upheaval, but I'm certain, honey, that life could be sunny with plenty of money and money, just money, 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 and money.
So just indulge us for a moment. We'd like to take this opportunity to introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm John. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more funny comedy stuff just like that, okay? So hang on to your seats. Speaking of comedy, it's that part of our program for what we like to call stress-free comedy. A lot of comedians will tell you it can be a very, very stressful experience to try to get an audience to laugh, but it isn't for us, and I'll tell you why. We take all of our stress and we displace it onto you. And here's how it works. We've got the punchlines to 10 jokes down here. We're only going to do 2 of them during our set tonight. And it works this way. You call out a number. We perform the joke that corresponds to that number. If the joke bombs, you think it's in poor taste, don't look at us. We didn't pick it. It's a perfect system. All right, so let's call it a number now. Anyone between 1 and 10? 4? Did I hear 4? 4.
4. Woo, my.
Some wise guy over here said 13. Did I hear that? Yeah. Oh, I remember when I had my first beer. Yeah. So, these two men are standing outside the gates of heaven to be admitted. First man has a leather jacket on, dark sunglasses, stogie cigar dangling from his mouth. The man standing behind him is looking very distinguished in a 3-piece pinstripe suit. St. Peter says, "Gentlemen, can you just tell me your names and your primary occupations in life, please?" First man says, "Yeah, my name is Rocco Catucci. I was a New York City cab driver in the Bronx my entire life." "It's so nice to have you in heaven, Mr. Catucci." And he hands him a golden robe and a golden staff, and he enters the gate. Next man steps forward. He says, "St. Peter, my name is Leonard Smith. I was a minister of an Episcopalian church for 45 years. St. Peter says, "So nice to have you in heaven, Reverend." And he gives him a cotton robe and a wooden staff. And the Reverend says, "St. Peter, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I just have to ask. He was a cab driver and he got a golden robe and a golden staff. I was a minister for 45 years. I get cotton and wood. I don't get that." St. Peter says, "Well, unfortunately, Reverend, up here we have to go with results. While you preached, people slept. While he drove, they prayed." Number 4 was a good one. All right. Now, I couldn't help but notice that a couple of people weren't laughing, and just so our time goes smoothly together, I need to give you a little warning. Should it turn out that you don't appreciate my brand of humor, please keep in mind I am a school teacher by profession. I socked away over $400 this year. I don't need any of you, okay? Anyway, I don't know about you guys. I am feeling so close to these people already. I feel like we're bonding. And because of that, we'd like to take our relationship to the next level. You ready to go there? All right. By a show of hands, how many people in this audience, please, have fallen in love at least once in their lifetime?
At least.
Okay, now I see some people going, "Get your arm up there. Let's go." And how many of you, even if you have to go all the way back to your junior high days, have had your heart broken in love at least once? And how many of you are afraid to raise your hand for fear that it'll make for a long ride home in the car tonight? Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Every once in a while, a beautiful, beautiful love song comes along. But until that happens again, we're going to sing this next song for you. Here.
My father was a widower. We lived all alone with no one in our home that we could call our own. But sad to state, I grew to hate that weary, dreary life. Made up my mind I'd go and find a loving little wife. I met a little dear and courted her a year. And oh, what pretty things I used to whisper in her ear. I used to call her baby. She seemed like a baby to me. When she said that we should wed, you bet I was glad. Then I took her home and introduced her to Dad. That's when I lost my baby, for Dad had no you see. She never even stopped to say ta-ta, bye-bye. Next day she turned around and married Pa, and just to think I used to call her baby, and now she's a mother to me. To think that after all these years, so free from care and that she'd be company, but now I plainly see that she is better company for Daddy than for me. The way she made me feel, it seems it can't be real, but just the same I realize I got an awful deal. She rides the broom. I used to call her baby, but since she's my mother, you see, anytime she comes along and sits on my knee, she don't come to have the same attraction for me. I'm going nuts to think she was my baby. It's got me up a tree. Now when my evening prayers have all been said, she always tucks me in my little bed. And just to think I used to call her honey, sugar, dearie, darling, sweetie, love her doll, but now it's wrong. Oh, I want a girl just like the girl that ran off with my pa. My baby is Mary Martha. Mary
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'd like to feature a man who has made quite a name for himself, not only in our district in Seneca land, but literally throughout the entire barbershop society. As an arranger, as a composer, as a phenomenal singer, just an incredible human being. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, me. Thank you. If you saw us a few years ago, you've probably noticed a change in our lineup here. Some people have asked, where's Pete? Pete was our bass, young man, about 24 years old, had a beard. Anybody remember? Okay. Anyway, the answer to the question what happened to Pete is fairly simple. Pete got married, and life as he knew it is now over. And I see some people going, man, you got that right. Holy moly. Actually, I have no complaints at all in my marriage. There's no question that I married Miss Wright. I just didn't know when I married her that her first name was always. Anyway, at this time we would like to feature our new bass, a wonderful, wonderful man, a very dear, close friend of ours, Mr. Mike Esposito. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mike Esposito featured on an American classic, Old Man River.
Let me go away from the Mississippi. Let me go away from the white man cause. Show me that stream on the river Jordan. That's the old stream that I long to cross. and say to you, have a nice day. And I find myself thinking all the while, I wish they'd just go away, far away. Have a nice day, be happy, smile all your troubles away. I'll scream if I hear one more person say, have a nice day. Well, got on my bike, got into a good turn for my body and old mother. There wasn't a pass, so I rode in the street. I was peddling for all that was worth. I got honked at, cussed at, splattered with mud. Dog bit twice and knocked off the road. The guy didn't even stop to see if I was dead, but a little yellow face on his bumper said, have a nice day, be happy, smile all your troubles away. I'll scream if I hear one more person say, have a nice day. Well, got out of bed to answer the phone, Miss MasterCard calling, she said. I said, thanks but no thanks, she said, apply anyway, just to help me to get ahead. Well, after I've gotten the 3rd degree, she said, what's your occupation? No musician, said she. That's the worst kind of preterist, my. I'm sorry, my dear, you just don't modify. But have a nice day, be happy, smile all your troubles away. I'll scream if I hear one more person say, have a nice day. Well, out on the freeway, nowhere to get off, and no place in the world I could stop. And wouldn't you know, I had to go so bad I thought for sure I would pop. Well, 20 miles, 30 miles rolled on by till the Melrose and Pumpkin Station caught my eye. And oasis in the desert answered to my prayers with a sign on the door said close for repairs. Have a nice day, be happy, smile all your troubles away. I'll scream if I hear one more person say, have a nice day. Quartet, woo!
You know, ladies and gentlemen, one of the challenges... Take over. What? Take over. And that's as cheesy as our shtick is going to get, right there. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the challenges that I have faced in the 6 years that I've had the absolute pleasure of singing Barbershop Harmony is trying to explain to my non-barbershopping friends how absolutely joyous it is to stand inside of this harmony. And I think I've failed miserably on all counts. But I learned of an incident that happened recently, happened about a month ago in Manhattan, and I think that by sharing this experience with you, we can bridge the gap between the barbershoppers and non-barbershoppers among us. Apparently, after this huge barbershopping convention was breaking down on a Friday night, a tenor, a lead, and a baritone were making their way up the sidewalk when they were approached by a lady of the evening. And she said to them, hey guys, want to have some real fun tonight? And with astonished looks in their eyes, they turned to her and said, you sing bass? Anyway, Mike, how do you keep the turkey in suspense?
I don't know how.
I'll tell you later.
Well, anyway, my quartet and I, we were agreeing earlier this afternoon what a wonderful community you do have. In fact, as we were standing out behind the Radisson Inn, that's where we're staying, out behind the Radisson Inn. We read some wonderful news in your local paper, and we thought it was just terrific. How many of you are sports fans? A lot of you? Okay. Specifically, how many of you know who Peekaboo Street is? What's her sport? Skiing. Well, I didn't know this, and maybe you didn't, but we read this in your paper, honest. Apparently, she spent her childhood in Scranton, and in her retirement years now, she would like to return something to your community. So she is apparently going to donate $6 million of her lifelong earnings as an intensive care unit for your local Mercy Hospital. Isn't that wonderful? And in fact, they're going to call it the Peekaboo ICU. Well, on a serious note, how many of you remember the Ink Spots? We're going to feature our lead singer on one of their all-time classic hits, which I'm sure you will recognize.
What good is the moonlight, the silvery moonlight that shines above? I walk with my shadow, I talk with my echo, but where is the one I love? We three will wait for you. Even through eternity, my echo, my shadow, and me, echo my shadow, and me.
Thank you very, very much. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a school teacher by profession, and about 2 Fridays ago, I was just closing down my class. There was about 5 minutes to the bell, and not wanting to waste the taxpayers' money, I turned to my students and I said, let's play a game. Let's play Ask Mr. Perricone Anything. You can ask me any question you like. I reserve the right to pass if it's too personal. And a hand went up, and the student asked a question I'd never been asked before, and the question was, Mr. Perricone, what's one of the most embarrassing things that's ever happened to you? And I remember thinking, my gosh, the list is so long, where do I begin? So I thought I would tell him one of the more recent. We have some neighbors right up the street from where I live in Endwell, a beautiful, beautiful family, and they happen to be animal lovers. Specifically, they love cats. I don't know how any of you feel about cats, but as far as I'm concerned, the only good cats are what? No, a fluffy cat, a fluffy cat. That is sick. How do people live in Scranton? That is a fluffy cat. Anyway, In addition to being cat lovers, they have this pen of white rabbits, beautiful, beautiful white rabbits, and they were going away on vacation for a week, and they respectfully requested that we feed the rabbits while they were gone for a week. I said, sure, I'll send my 2 little girls over twice a day, everything will be fine. Wouldn't you know it, on the day before they're to return home from their vacation, doesn't my dog bring one of those beautiful white rabbits home, dead in its mouth, like it had been dragged through the dirt and the mud. I couldn't believe this was happening. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm embarrassed to say in that moment, even though I knew I'd tell them the truth eventually, that I took that rabbit down into our basement sink, and I washed and shampooed and blew-dried the fur, and I made my way back into the night, and I put it back in the cage, knowing that I would tell them the truth eventually. The next day, about an hour after I'm assuming they unpacked, my friend Bob shows up at my door. He says, John, something so very, very bizarre has happened. And I'm like, what? He says, you know the rabbits we asked you to watch this week? I said, yes. He said, well, just before we left on vacation last week, one of them died and we buried it in the backyard. And that's all you need to know about that story. All right? We could just get serious now. Yeah, right. Like they believe that. We'd like to sing a song of historical significance for you now. Certainly it's been true throughout history that men have gone off to war, and then they've returned home to greet a child that they'd never seen before. And our next song tells the story of one such man. A soldier came home after 3 years overseas, and he heard his wife exclaim, "Welcome home, dear, we've been blessed with a child," and Benny is a little boy's name. Benny. "But I've been gone 3 years," he said. "Now, maybe I'm a little bit dumb, but I've just got to ask you, please explain, where did little Benny come from?" Come from. And every time he asked, she said, "Benny's from heaven." But still she said, "Benny's from heaven." He said, "I've asked the people all over town, but no one can remember Benny coming down. Such a little thing like this, guess I shouldn't bother. But one thing I know about kids, there must be a father. And as I look at Benny, one thing's plain to see. Benny must be from heaven. He's not from me. He's not from me. Believe it or not, we have time for one last joke. Who'd like to call out the number? 9. Who said 9?
9.
9 right there? Was it a man? Ma'am. And what is your name, ma'am? Chris? Okay, Chris, because we're going to need that for legal purposes later on. So this ventriloquist is doing his act in Arkansas, and he starts to tell a blonde joke. And a blonde woman in the 4th row stands up and says, "I find the stereotype inherent in blonde humor to be absolutely intolerable. It's dehumanizing, it's demeaning, and it diminishes the dignity of women like myself at home in our relationships to our children and our husbands and in our professional relationships at work. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop now." And the ventriloquist is so embarrassed. He says, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry." She says, "I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to that SOB on your knee." Chris will be signing autographs out in the lobby. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I really would like to introduce the quartet, giving us that wonderful, wonderful resonant bass sound, the engine of our quartet, Mr. Mike Esposito. Adding dignity to our sound, a man we consider to be the best baritone in this quartet, Mr. J. Rimo. Mr. J. Rimo. Adding sparkle on those lovely high notes, our tenor, Mr. Mike Lorenz.
And our shy, introverted lead, John Perricone.
Please, continue your thoughts. Go ahead. No, really. No. Ladies and gentlemen, in spite of our happy appearances up here, we are not necessarily the happy campers we appear to be. We've all had some setbacks in our personal lives recently, and we find that in talking about it on the road, it actually helps to begin a healing process. So if you'll indulge us for a moment, we'd like to share some of that with you. Jay just hit 53 years old, and it's not like, that's the end of the world or anything, but I think in coming to terms with 53, he's also started to come to terms with some of his own childhood baggage. Would you agree that no matter how old we get to live in this life, we carry some of that childhood stuff? And one of the things Jay is really struggling to get over is the fact that all his life, all he ever received were hand-me-down clothes. Hand-me-down clothes, hand-me-down clothes, hand-me-down clothes. And it was very difficult for him, and he'll explain why.
Problem is, I only have 3 older sisters.
So he's been in therapy for that for quite a while now. And Mike here, Mike, the wounds are so fresh it's almost hard for us to talk about, but Mike's wife of 30 years just left him 3 weeks ago for a tractor salesman, and not that being a tractor salesman is a bad thing, but he'll tell you why it was particularly devastating.
It was the first time in my whole life I ever heard of anybody getting a John Deere letter.
Mike here, let's start with the good news with Mike. Mike's a newlywed. How about a big hand for that? Just come here. First time. Yeah, and we're thrilled for him. And Mike is thrilled, but Mike is still a little disgruntled by the fact that because he waited till he was 43 to get married, unfortunately he and his bride were forced to honeymoon in Viagra Falls. So, would somebody answer that phone, please? Maybe not. Mike hates when I deliver that line, but it helps our ratings, so I have to go with it. See, so much time passed between me mentioning the phone and the punchline that, okay, never mind. Now, Mayday. All right. I don't know if you could see me shaking up here tonight. I wish I could say it's because we're performing, but it's not. Ladies and gentlemen, about 3 days, Mamma mia. If Alan Funt doesn't jump out and say this, I'm going to be so mad. I don't know if you can see me.
You're really shaking now.
I am shaking. The reason I'm shaking, ladies and gentlemen, is because about 3 days ago I had a near-death experience, and I'm sorry, it's hard to talk about stuff.
Be brave.
I went horseback riding, and everything was going great until my horses started bouncing wildly out of control, and all my attempts at pulling back on the reins and whoa just went completely unheeded. And then, to make matters worse, I fell from the horse, but because my foot was still caught in the stirrups, my head was literally dragging along the ground, and all I can say is thank goodness for me, just before I lost consciousness, the Walmart manager came over and unplugged the darn thing. Oh, sure, laugh at my pain. That's a beautiful thing. Anyway, we have fun tonight. Have we have fun?
Excuse me, John, I'm just curious about that, how you keep a turkey in suspense.
I'll tell you about that later. Okay, yeah. You want to know about the turkey in suspense thing? Okay, yeah. But the phone was ringing again. All right. Anyway, you have without question been the most recent audience that we've performed for. And by the way, if you like this, we are the Troubadours. If not, we're living large, okay? And Anyway, we would like to close now. And first, before we do this song, it just needs a little backing up. On Valentine's Day of this year, we sang for a couple, believe it or not, celebrating their 80th wedding anniversary in a nursing home in Endicott, New York, 103, 104 years old. And we asked the question that had to be asked, what is the secret to 80 years of marriage? And the man just looked at me and said, the secret? Just keep breathing. You know, I've been married 20 years, doesn't compare to 80, but Mike, you know, just being a newlywed, asked me recently, he said, John, what's been the secret to your 20 years of marriage? And I said, basically, my wife and I have one simple agreement. We do not retire to bed angry. If we have an issue, we wait until we've settled it. As we speak, I haven't slept in 3 months. Anyway, at this time, we'd like to dedicate a very, very special song, and if you'll indulge me for a moment, today is the 13th anniversary of my father's passing, and there was a special mass held for him in Vestal, New York, and my mom went from that and rushed here to be in the audience tonight, and if you'll indulge me, I'd like to dedicate this song to my mother from my father. We close our show tonight.
Every day of my life, I'll be loving you. Every day of my life, I promise I'll be true. I'll never make you cry, and as the I'll always try to do what pleases you, every day of my life. I'll need you close to me, and if I have my way, that's where you'll always be. I'll prove how much I love you over and over again. Every moment I live, every day of my life, every day of my life, I'll need you close to me, and if I have my way, that's where you'll always be. I'll prove how much I love you over and over again. Every moment I live, every day of my life, every day of
Have a nice day, everybody. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for round two. So without further ado, I'd like to bring back the Troubadours Barbershop Quartet. Gentlemen.
of Laredo. As I walked out in Laredo one day, I spied a young cowboy all dressed in white linen, dressed in white linen as cold as the clay. I see by your outfit that you are a cowboy. I see by your outfit you are a cowboy too. We see by our outfits that we are all cowboys. If you get an outfit, you can be a cowboy too.
And that's as close to country western as we're getting, right?
The story goes of, man, you know how it is when you hear a brand new joke and it's a real hot one you want to tell. Well, there was this man who wanted to tell his best friend his brand new joke. His friend says, all right, bring it on. Okay. There were these two Jewish guys in a restaurant, and his friend says, wait a minute. He said, you are taking advantage of our relationship and the fact that I'm Jewish, and frankly, I'm getting a little offended by it. And his friend says, whoa, wait a minute, I didn't mean to offend you. He said, let me start over again. There's two Chinese guys in a restaurant. And his friend, looking very mollified, nodded his head. And then his friend said, and one of them said to the other one, so are you coming to my son's bar mitzvah or not?
We could just get serious for a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, as you may all well be aware, our society of barbershopping has a very strict G rating. It's something we're all very proud of, and we work very hard to maintain that as best we can. And so when we came across an old chestnut, a lovely song that we wanted to do, we were a little concerned because we thought even the title of the song itself was pushing the envelope. And so we made some adjustments here that we hope you'll find suitable to your G-rated ears.
Another bride, another groom, another sunny honeymoon, another season, another reason for baking cookies. A lot of shoes, a bunch of rice. The groom is nervous, he answers twice. It's just so killing that he's so willing to bake some cookies. Picture a little love nest down where the roses gleam. Picture that same sweet love nest. See what a year can bring. He's washing dishes and baby clothes. He's so ambitious, he even sews. But don't forget, folks, what you get, folks, for baking cookies. Another year, or maybe less. What's this I hear? Can't you guess? She feels neglected, and he's suspected of baking cookies. She sits alone most every night. He doesn't phone, he doesn't write. He says he's busy, but she says is he? He's baking cookies. He doesn't make much money, 10,000 per. Some judge who thinks he's funny says you pay 6 to her. But he says, Judge, what if I fail? The judge says, Budge, right in the jail. You ought to keep her. I think it's cheaper than baking cookies. Cookies!
Wow, thank you.
He's
So,
lost weight.